Okay, I think it's recording. I see the red dot. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get started. So here is our schedule today. As I sent out the save the date and then the agenda items, this is the breakdown that I would like to see if it will work for today. As you guys can see though, I did do a slight change. The schedule for the 9 to 10:30, my original thought was focusing on congregate operation, but I changed that to just overall SFSP operation. And so that's what I would like to focus on from the 9 to 10:30. And then the 10:30 to 12 is specifically for the non-congregate operation. And that is welcome for everyone. Oh my gosh, if you did not operate non-congregate this year, but you would love to just hear other people's operation, how it went, if you want to pick anyone's brains on how their operation went, what they did that maybe you can, copy and paste into your operation, please feel free to stay in that meeting. But like I said, since this is being recorded, it is going to be available for a later viewing. Perfect. So let's keep going. So first and foremost, I'm going to see if this is going to work here. You guys know that we tried this Mentimeter during this year's training. And so I only have two. I only have two today. So this one is your sponsor name. Feel free to either go to menti.com in your computer, use that code, or if you have a smartphone, please scan the QR code, or just actually mention it in the chat box if you guys don't want to do the Mentimeter. That's totally okay. I just want to be able to capture on who attended today's training. I apologize. I'm going to close my window here. There you go. Because I know that we had quite a few registration. But I do want to capture the list of who was actually here with us today. Awesome. Oh, I'm so happy to see you guys. I know summer's ending or has ended. You guys are all back to school, but you guys know how crazy I am about the summer food program. So it's so good to see everyone. All right, like I mentioned, either do the Mentimeter or the chat box. Awesome. I love seeing all the different school districts that we have here today. Awesome. Thank you, Bailey. Got that. Perfect. All right. So then with that, I'm hoping everyone got a chance to awesome. Thanks, Carla. And Luann. Thank you, Luann. Okay, so then the next one is just my just indicate your name. So we did the sponsor name and who we have here today. Awesome. Thanks, Darren. I got you. Thanks, Sierra. I see that in the chat box. Perfect. Awesome. I love these word clouds stuff here. All right. So with that, thank you guys so much for entering your answers in there. Like I said, I just wanted to see who is here with us today. So that's great that I can capture that list. So next one is our agenda. So this is the overall agenda for today. We have, as I mentioned, we got the two sections. The first one is the overall SFSP operation, and then the second one is the rural non-congregate. I've gathered hopefully some really great questions to really just encourage participation and discussions. And so please, please, I welcome you all to share your thoughts, to share your successes, your highlights, your challenges, questions. This meeting is all about you guys. I know during the school or during the spring, I know I talk a lot during our training to really just convey all of the information that we need to share with you all before the beginning of the program. But this meeting, it is all about you guys. So please consider continually just participating and being part of the discussion. And I hope that the questions that I was able to pull can garner those discussions that we would like to see today. All right, so with that, really quick, again, welcome everyone to today's meeting. I hope you all had a wonderful summer break. Gosh, I can't believe this summer went by so fast, but oh my gosh, it was so great being able to come out and see some of you guys' operation. I was fortunate enough to do some technical assistant visits in some of our non-congregate operations, and then of course our on-site meal observations during the reviews this year. So that was really great to be able to do that with the rest of the team. Really quick though, a quick introduction. I know we all know me. We do a lot of these trainings, the phone calls and emails and all of that stuff. But I also want to just do a quick shout out to, I know Dominic is also on the call here. Dominic, did you want to just say what's up to everyone and just quickly introduce yourself?
Why, yes. Good morning. Can you see me? Because my camera's on the laptop.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. I'm just to echo Marianne, I'm super excited about this debrief. Last year we had our first RNC one, and then this year there's a lot of great surprises and exciting information that Marianne's going to share about the summer operations, and I'm just super happy to be here and to be with you all, and thank you for all the work you did, and hear your feedback on actually now that we've done another summer with RNC, see how it went, and best practices, what we can learn from one another and what we can learn as the state agency to help improve operations or help you have the tools. So I'm just excited to see you all. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dominique. All right. So the purpose of the debrief today, the goal of today's debrief, as we mentioned already, is really just to reflect on this summer's operation and capture what went well and what we faced during the summer, some of our challenges. We want to celebrate you guys' successes and learn from any obstacles that you guys have faced so that we can improve the operation for next year. Your feedback and your insights are incredibly valuable. So please utilize the different formats we have. Turn on your camera, unmute yourself, put it in the chat box, or you are always more than welcome to shoot us an email and just type out a feedback you would like. I would also welcome that. So definitely please utilize the different platforms that we have. So with that said, I'd like to just go over a few ground rules so that our discussion stays productive and respectful. Let's make sure that we listen actively, keep comments concise and on topic, focus on the solutions, and give everyone a chance to share. So really just want to highlight that just because I know I've been in you guys' position. I was a sponsor of the program. I love that about my position. I was able to really face the same challenges that you guys have. And so I know that oftentimes we feel very siloed in our operation, feeling like we're the only one going through the challenges and the hardships and stuff. But please know that other sponsors does experience the same thing. It might be slightly different than what you're experiencing, but we always welcome that. But then also I want us to focus on solutions too. Definitely share your challenges, but maybe if you've gotten a chance to think about what we can do better or what we can improve for next year, definitely share that too. We always want to welcome. We want to really focus on just a solution-based meeting today. Definitely share your challenges, but let's see if we can work through some of those out as we continue for the next couple hours here today. All right, so next slide, let's see, my mouse is just so touchy. Okay, so really quick, and actually hold on just one sec, everyone. I just want to move my thing here really quick. I apologize. the joy of having to work through multiple screens. Hold on just one sec, everyone. Okay. There you go. I think I am able to see everyone on all three of my screen. Perfect. Okay, so in 2024, when we or I apologize, the operation from 2024 to 2025, in 2025, our goal was to have a 10% increase of meals served across the state. And that's really expanding both the reach and the participation for summer food operation. And so, like I mentioned, specifically, we aim to increase the total number of meals served by 10%. I also put in my goals to USDA when we submit our plan every year to bring on 4 new sponsors and establish 13 additional summer meal sites across our state. This target was specifically designed to really build on the prior year's participation to address any gaps in meal services and demonstrate the impact of new strategies, such as expanding outreach and the rural non-congregate meal service operation. Really, though, above all else, these targets that I have put in were designed to really strengthen our sponsors network. I know that it takes more than one sponsor in one community in one area to really combat the lack of nutrition, food access in all of our communities across the state. And so really my goal was to really expand the number of sponsors and operation that we have so that all of that work is not just dependent upon one sponsor. And then, of course, really just the domino effect of that is really targeting and designing to strengthen and ensure more children have access to meals across our state, I apologize, during the summer months so that they are ready to return to school in the fall, ready to learn. Um, and so that was what I originally was thinking about in regards to the goals that we had set up for 2025. And so kind of keeping that in mind, 10% of meals served from 2024, 4 new sponsors and 4 new sponsors and 13 additional sites. So I'm happy to report that this year we saw an increase in the number of sponsors operating SFSP, which is really an exciting milestone. More sponsors mean more children reach with nutritious meals. So the number of sponsors went from 67 sponsors in 2024 to 72 sponsors for summer 2025. So I'm happy to report that we got some really great new partners, new school district partners this year that came in and did all of the work with onboarding, recruitments, all of those things, trainings, monitoring to really take on the summer food service program this year. And so I would love I just have a couple of questions in here and oh my gosh, you're totally good, Christy. That's so funny. I was just gonna call you to see if you could share some of your experience, but I'm hoping to see Holly if you are here. For those of you guys who are the newer sponsors this year, I would love to kind of just see if maybe 1 or 2 of you guys would be willing to just share maybe what drew you to operating summer food this year. I think I saw Holly and
And
yes,
sorry to interrupt. Are you talking about Holly from Basin?
yes, Holly from
She,
Basin. I thought I saw
sh-
her.
she is. She just sent me an email. Her co-worker fell, so she's on her own in meal service. So she's popping in and out. So I don't
Okay.
know. She's on and off.
Oh, I think I see her. Holly, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here temporarily.
Awesome. You know what? Just really quick, Holly, I just wanted to, and I apologize to kind of put you up in the spot. Like I said, I kind
You're
of just
fine.
come up with all these very varying questions, but kind of just asking you like, what drew you to operating summer food this year? And if you just want to share which school district you're with.
Yeah, I'm with the Basin School District in Idaho City. And what originally started as me just emailing to see about starting it this next summer turned into like a mad dash to get it going this past summer, which was really great. And we're a pretty low in, well, actually, we have really large variables. So we have people without running water, but we also have people with $1 million homes in the same area. And so I was just trying to get as much food as possible, but also being very short staffed. So what we did is we did a week at a time. So we had 7 breakfasts and 7 lunches go out every Wednesday. And so they ended up getting an entire gallon of milk per child. And it ended up being maybe a couple of ounces over what they were supposed to get, but it made way more sense than having 14 cartons going out to each family.
Mhm. Wow.
We served quite a few. Like I had only anticipated maybe 30 a week. And what was going to be our final week, we had over 100 kids come through to pick up. And so I'm really excited to get it going again this next coming summer because a lot more people know about it. And the biggest thing that I had to overcome was people thinking it was only for low income. And so they weren't going to sign their child up because they're like, well, I don't want it to go to us that can't afford it for, and not be available for kids that can't. And I'm like, well, it's really for anyone. Like we're going to make sure that we have enough portions for anyone that signs up, regardless of income. So I'm still trying to figure out how to get rid of that stigma that it's low income only.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that, Holly. And that's really a great segue to my next question. And this is for our returning sponsors, or as I would like to call you all, the veteran sponsors, the experienced sponsors. What advice, and we can just go off of what Holly just mentioned, her last statement, as far as, this stigma that this program is only for low income families. I don't need it. I'm okay. Any of the returning sponsors? I mean, gosh, I kind of just on the top of my head here, Lisa, Heather, I mean, Ellen, I know you're in your new role, but you've been part of the program. What advice would you guys give to a statement like what Holly just mentioned at the end there? Or just really anyone, or any advice that you may have for our newer sponsors?
Marianne, can I speak?
Yes, go ahead, Angela. I see you. I hear you.
So what I do to reach everybody is not only do I send it to the newspaper, I send it to the health and welfare department, and I send it to the employee department. And I let everybody know it's free for all kids, and the more kids, the better for the program. So and this year we started the rural new one, and we got 3,000 meals for that one rural meal a day. That was a 3,000 increase a day more than we normally did. So it was pretty good. And the word got out really fast.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Angela. Heather, I think I saw you unmute yourself. Did you want to share anything?
Yeah, I think I just saw the comment from, where did I see it? From Kendra. I think just word of mouth, that really is like you just telling everybody. We use our social media pages to let people know, it's out there, it's available to everyone. Another thing that I think people say is, oh, I don't live in the district. And so we make sure to say, like, I think we've done some, like with our PR, with our district, or if the news or the radio, TV, whatever comes out, I make sure to say, if you've got grandkids visiting from out of town, like bring them. It's just all kids. It's not just within our district too. It's literally for every child.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for those feedback, you guys. I think yes, oh my gosh, I echo definitely the continued promotion of the program so that there isn't any confusion that it is only for a specific group of people. I love Angela's comment that, the participation really helps the program. Oh my gosh, I remember when I was a sponsor of the program in one of my sites, I'm getting 100, 200, 300 meal service or participation, but then I also had a site who we would get maybe 10 kids participating. And those big sites and getting that big participation was really allowing us to operate these smaller sites because it evens out on that participation number, right? And so definitely that's a great way to look at that, and that's a great way to convey that to the participants. For me, gosh, I always look at it from the home environment, right? Like, yes, you may not need it right now, or you may not need it this week, but we know how fast things can change. There can be a car breakdown, there can be a medical issue, there can be a housing issue. Anything can go away in just one hot second, where it shifts your financial constraints to other areas. And so if that summer meals can help, um, you know, put the money intended to make lunch into the pot of money for a rainy day. Oh my gosh, that's a great way to really look at that, right? Because we just really never know um, how things will change and how fast they will change. And so I really appreciate everyone's feedback. Holly, thank you so much for asking that question and really just putting that out to the group. If anyone else thinks, if anyone else think of anything, please feel free to just unmute yourself or put that in the chat box. But really, really great discussion there. Thank you so much. So this next slide, I wanted to just share regarding the number of sites that we have. So as you guys can see, in comparison from 2024 to 2025, the number of congregate sites did dip slightly. However, we saw the number of rural non-congregate sites increase. So we had 77 sites of non-congregate operated in 2024, and in 2025, we had a total of 97 rural non-congregate sites. So we had, so what that just means, to just kind of simplify that, is we had some congregate sites that operated congregate in 2024, but they switched to non-congregate this year. But then we also have brand new sites that came on this year that were strictly non-congregate. So that's where the shift of some of those numbers. And so, gosh, I think about, Minidoka, they added in a lot of new sites. Lisa from American Falls, I hope you don't mind just kind of me asking you to kind of just share your experience on what motivated you, because I know that you were one of the sites that have done the program for so long as a congregate sponsor, and this year was your first year doing the non-congregate, but I know that you switch your site from you switch some of your sites from congregate to non-congregate. If you don't mind, may I ask you, what motivated you to do that, to expand that, and what did the families, say about having that access point for your meal service? And I hope, Lisa, you're still in here. I kind of took out my participation list here. Oh no, maybe I don't see her. Well, what about any other sponsors on the call? As far as expanding your sites, regardless if it was a congregate operation or non-congregate, anyone want to jump in and maybe share why, perhaps?
Yeah, that's Angela.
Yep, go ahead, Angela.
So I usually run a congregate site. So this year we moved one of my congregate sites to non-congregate and did a daily meal, which was actually kind of nice, because then cars can pull up, so it looked like a little drive-through, like a fast food drive-through. And then we also added the non-rural congregate meal component site to one of our outlying areas. And that's where we got most of all the areas around. They were coming from Rupert, they were coming from Oakley, Rock River, just to get boxes in Oakley. So it was a really nice change. Did that answer your question?
Yes, no, yeah, definitely. Thank you, Angela, for that. I know that was the common theme this year on switching congregate to non-congregate sites. And so I think obviously that has more of a, I don't know, I guess a pull from the community, right, on accessing that versus a congregate site. So yeah, I think that was great that, you know, our sponsor, some of our sponsors tried that out this year. Lisa, I just see on the chat box, Lisa Corral from American Falls. Yeah, I couldn't hear you unless someone else did, but it looks like the audio is not working, or at least coming through on our end. But definitely feel free to use the chat box though, if that audio is still a little finicky. But would love to hear just some of your viewpoints as well. All right, so that was the number of sites that we have. And the next slide, I'm so excited to share. Just to note though, these are just preliminary numbers. Not all of the sponsors this year have submitted their claims for July and for August. And so we're still waiting on those numbers. But this is the preliminary numbers for the sponsors that have submitted their claims for summer 2025. So here are our total number of meals served. The orange is the 2024 numbers, and the blue is the 2025. More meals were served compared to last year. And I think we definitely surpassed the goal of 10%. I think I was looking, at least right now, the preliminary numbers, I think it was like 19% increase from last year's overall number. Really, oh my gosh, an incredible accomplishment that shows the reach and impact of everyone's hard work. So as you can see, breakfast and snacks had the largest jump. Lunch showed a steady growth, and supper stayed nearly the same. But like I said, these are still just the preliminary numbers for 2025. We're still waiting on a pretty good number of sponsors to submit their claim. But I think in total, for all meal type, we have surpassed 1.1 million meals served this summer. That's pretty awesome. I mean, gosh, I think the last, I want to say maybe in 2016, 2017 was in the range of millions meals served. So it's been a while, obviously not counting COVID operation. But yeah, really, really great numbers. Oh my gosh, I was floored to see the number of meals served. And please note that this is not just the rural non-congregate operations. These also include our congregate sites. And I do want to just note too that if you are interested in seeing your numbers compared from maybe just, you know, not just last year, but maybe throughout the last, you know, however many years you would like, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to pull those data for you. I love pulling data and analyzing that and just really seeing the visual comparison. And so if this is something that would be helpful for you as you plan for next year, you know, if you have seen a steady growth, or if you've been stagnant, or, you know, maybe just decreasing the number of meals you're serving, and if seeing that data, you know, visually seeing that data will be helpful, let me know. I can pull that data for you. But yeah, this is our number this year. Oh my gosh. Anyone has any thoughts? Oh my gosh, Dominique, or any sponsors, any of our newer sponsors, returning sponsors. What do you guys think? I feel like this is pretty awesome. I think it's so great.
Marianne, I just want to jump in. I appreciate the support from you and Dominique, just encouraging us to kind of get out of our boxes and just try. And what does that look like? I mean, clearly those numbers, we are, yeah, we're boots on the ground, but somebody had to kind of, you know, hold our hand a little bit. But I think also those numbers show that there is a need in our communities. It's tough, and we only ran for the month of June, and we did have a couple parents that are just so disappointed, and so I feel like those are kind of our gap parents that there isn't anything for them. They're not on food stamps. They're not getting any extra, and when summer meals ended, our communities are really struggling. The economy is really tough. The housing crisis in Idaho. So I think those numbers I'm just happy to be part of that blue line going up.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Heather. And oh my gosh, I totally agree with you. Um the need is definitely very apparent, especially with just how things have been, this past couple of years. Um, I think it's always that balance, right? That we always have to assess and continually reassess, weekly, if not monthly. I certainly do not expect my summer food sponsors to feel like they have to take on those needs and those areas, and serve the entire summer, because I know the work that you guys do during the summer months, and I know the work and on top of what you guys already do during the school year. That's the same thing too with our nonprofit organizations. You guys don't just close down for the year, and reopen during the school year. I mean, gosh, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA's, you guys are still operating during the school year. And so I don't ever expect that you guys have to take on this need the whole entire summer. So I think every little thing definitely helps, and continually reassessing that. Um, and it's apparent that regardless if you operate, for 2 weeks or for 1 month, and regardless if you're doing congregate or non-congregate, every little thing helps for our families and our community. And I'm very glad to just be part of that. And thank you for those kind words too, Heather, as far as having this partnership. This week there's been a lot of discussions internally in our department about the role of the state agency, and I think in some areas it's kind of been forgotten that compliance is not only our job, it's a pillar of what we do. It's not all that we do. It's a partnership, it's a collaboration between us as the state agency and you guys as our partners. So it's never a top-down approach. And oftentimes, yes, I understand that it may feel that way, but I hope the discussions that I have had with you guys in just thinking outside the box and expanding your program and thinking of, maybe this way or that way, I hope that comes out as just really collaborating with you. I always view it as it doesn't hurt to ask. And I welcome those open discussions. And so I really appreciate those kind words, Heather. Thank you so much for that. Um, Anyone else? What you guys would like? What anyone else that want to share anything, kind of like what you saw in your operation? Again, either congregate or non-congregate. Did you see some of these increased numbers? Did you see, maybe newer kids or newer family accessing your summer meals operation? All
So
right.
what we tell us is that like a steady decline for probably the last 15 years, not counting 2020, like we had a huge boost that year, but this year was the first year that we actually went up only by 200 mils, but still, like we kind of feel like we're starting to maybe think of things, and we would love to get more ideas. We're hoping for some more ideas today of things that we can continue to do so that we can keep putting those numbers back up.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that, Heather, and just throwing those questions out. Definitely, if anyone has any feedback or any insights they would like to share, please feel free to do so. I think that's always kind of just like that question every year, right? Like how do we increase our participation every year? How do we let the families know that, hey, we're continually operating this year after year, and them, continually accessing that. All right, so just for a quick, and this for this next graph, it's just it's the same information, but I just wanted to just show just the percentage growth from 2024 to 2025. Again, if you guys want, definitely Heather with you in Pocatello, if you guys want to see that data comparison from year to year, I'd be more than happy to pull that. I can even break that down by meal type. And so that's always available for you guys. So for anyone who would like to see that, definitely just shoot me an email. Just another question though that I would love to just have folks consider, and anyone else who would like to chime in. And I guess just kind of going off of what Heather had asked, did you guys have any certain sites or strategies that contributed to the growth that you've seen this summer? I know definitely some of our sponsors obviously switched from congregate to non-congregate, so they saw that increase. But I would love to just see like I would just love to hear about the congregate operation for those that saw some growth this summer. Was there anything you did differently this year? Was there anything that, changed from last year to this year? Maybe different site?
So Marianne, it's me again. I'll try
thanks,
not
Heather.
to dominate the whole
Oh,
thing.
thank you. Please participate.
We have been in elementary school. So we have one elementary school where they usually hold summer program, like summer school. And then we have a park that our property borders the city park. And so we set up our little food trailer at the school, but so we have great participation there. But we wanted to expand that this year with the congregate. And two of the elementaries that qualified were having construction, or the roads were going to be torn up. And so when I talked to the principal, she's like, "Hey, what about the park?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't really think about that." And then Michaela had discovered this park that we didn't know existed. So we did just a park drop off, and it was congregate. But we just really hadn't done that, and we were just surprised at the participation. It held, and sometimes we'd see high at one and low at the other. But I was really surprised. I really hadn't considered the sites before, and they were super easy to serve at, and it gave us an extra 100 meals a day. So it was just those kids and they were just so grateful just to have it so close to their neighborhoods.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. I'm kind of just looking at the chat box here too. So Crystal from Twin Falls, she said, "I did quite a bit of field trip meals with one of my summer school this year." That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great way to let the staff or let the district know that that's also available. I don't know if there's a confusion, or maybe they don't know that it's available, that they can take the meals. Maybe just kind of touching base on that and checking and letting this teachers know that, hey, this is available. If you guys would like to take some meals, you would just record that as a field trip. Holly from Basin, we had an admin send out emails with a text message alert to check their email, remind families each week about summer meals. That is great as well, just that continued outreach and promotion of the program. The one thing that I want to see too, and Carla, I don't know if you're Carla from Kimberly. I don't know if I know I see your participation here, or I see you on the participants list. If you are on the other line there, I got the chance to visit you this year, and got to see your operation and got to see your meal service and the menu. Anything you want to share on your end on kind of what you've done and initiate or implemented in Kimberly School District as far as your menu and promoting the meals for your families?
Well, first of all, hello. Sorry I'm late in getting in.
Oh, no, you're totally great.
For implementing our menus, we were able to sign up with a new company that gives us our food with Cisco. And we were just trying to get with the credible foods that we can use. And we found some things that were fun for the kids, like meatball subs was a hit. And we had for the summer program, they were doing animal activity days and different themes. And so they had these zoo crew nuggets that was fun, that the kids had fun with, that there were dinosaurs and elephants and, you know, different animals. So those are different things we tried for the summer.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Yeah, I think that's actually I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do like a theme, maybe a theme day, just to encourage, participation and attendance from the community. I think that's a great idea. And maybe even go up, going beyond the just maybe the, I don't know, dress up or costume from the staff, and maybe working that out through the menu that you guys implement. I think that could definitely just spice things up, spruce it up a little bit.
Marianne,
Yes.
can you
Oh,
hear me
yes,
now?
yes, we can hear you, Lisa.
I'm sorry, we upgraded our computers and this is my first Zoom meeting since, and apparently I couldn't figure out the microphone, so I apologize.
No, you're totally good.
So, I do have, I mean, we've been really excited as far as we've operated like a non-congregate for many years in our parks. And I loved the social setting of having it in the parks, but our numbers soared this year when we moved to the rural non-congregate. We did really see a big change in those. I went up from, I don't know, I know you'd ask me some questions and I'm not sure. You've probably moved on, so.
No,
I'd be glad to offer input, so.
Yeah, no, we can definitely touch more on that on the non-congregate piece, Lisa, if you're staying in for the rest of the phone call. Because I know I really love the talking point of our congregate sponsors switching to non-congregate operation, and that shift, right? Like how and I know, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but I know that you and I have had a lot of conversations of just your hesitancy, right? Like
Right.
there were a lot of questions. There were a lot of hesitancy in that, because it is a huge shift. And we don't know what we don't know. I feel like we are still experiencing, PTSD from COVID operation. I'll be the
Oh,
first
yeah.
to admit. And so yeah, so I would love to just have you share that a little bit more during the non-congregates piece. And I'm excited to hear from Michaela from Bonneville and Angie from Gooding on their experience too. Because I think I just want to I want to reiterate that to sponsors who are wanting to do non-congregate but is a little hesitant, or maybe just straight up concerned about switching that, because maybe they think that it's more than they can handle. But I think I want to just um have it be open that it can be as big as you want or as simple as you want. It's totally up to you. And so I would love to definitely dig a little bit more in that in regard to the non-congregate piece when we get into the second half of this meeting. I think that's definitely a great way to do that. Yeah, Heather, thank goodness for the lessons we learned from during COVID. We were able to use these when we added RNC. Totally agree. Oh my gosh, totally agree. All right, for this next slide, I guess I lied to you guys earlier. This is my last Mentimeter question. But yeah, pick an emoji that describes your summer. If you guys can pick one, I'd love to just see that. Hopefully this question, or at least the word cloud works. Ah, yeah. I expect that little blah. The star, I love it. Oh, Bailey and James, oh, thank you for sharing that in the chat box. Yes, the blowing of the mind. I bet that's probably has something to do with the number of meals served. Baseball, I love it. Oh, that's so great. Crazy, yes. Every summer, I feel like it gets crazier and crazier. Thumbs up, definitely clapping. That's awesome. And the hearts. Oh, that's so great. Thank you all for sharing that. I hope you guys get a kick out of all these just various emojis. I don't know. I feel like my favorite one is the brain exploding. I think that's definitely mine every year. Thank you all for joining on that one. All right, so these next few slides, I have more questions for you all, and please feel free to unmute yourself, turn on your camera, or share it in the chat box. But let's really dig. Let's really get into it on how the summer went for everyone. If you guys can do, like us looking back this summer, and I know it seems like it's so far away now, especially with the start of the school year. Would anyone like to share one highlight or success from your summer operation? And I'll open it up regardless if it's congregate or non-congregate. But any highlights or successes you guys would like to share with the group that you're most proud of this year? And, definitely think about, maybe a proudest moment working in the summer program. It can be simple as, a child, saying thank you, a family saying thank you. What was one challenge you overcame this summer? And did you try anything new in your operation this year?
Hi guys, I'm Jules from the Boys and Girls Club up here in Coeur d'Alene.
Hi, Jules.
Hi. I had a couple of them. One, I had kids telling me that I made the best, like I was the best cook in the world, but I don't have the capability of actually cooking. It's mostly Uncrustables and things like that. But I tried some different vegetables. I tried cucumbers because I was kind of tired of serving celery and carrots. So I did the cucumbers one day and they flipped over them. They ate so many cucumbers. It was so awesome. So it was just really nice to see all these kids eating their vegetables this summer. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Jules. Oh, it's simple. It's just serving the cucumber. That's awesome.
Welcome.
We had a young man at the end of the summer. Can you still hear me?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So I just thought it was pretty neat. It was the end of the summer, the last day. I couldn't figure out what he was doing. I thought he was having signing some petition or something. But he actually had a thank you card that he had made himself and painted it. And he was going around to all the families and asking them to sign. And so we had this card that the families had signed. And I thought it was pretty neat for that. I mean, he was about 13, 14-year-old young man that he had come every day. And I just thought it was pretty neat that he took that upon himself to do that. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
We got lots of comments on how thankful people were.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Lisa.
So yeah, that meant something. Makes you think it's worth it, all the headache. So.
Right. I'll read off some comments on our chat box. It said Crystal from Twin Falls. She said during the month of June we served over 2,000 meals a day, almost every day. That was huge for us. Oh my gosh, for Twin Falls area, for the Magic Valley area. And I know we're seeing obviously increase in population, people moving across the valley. And so that's really amazing for the Magic Valley, for Twin Falls. That's awesome. Kim from Jefferson or from Blackfoot School District, no findings. Yay! Hey, I will take that as a win. James, I think there's James from Notice. It's amazing when you can put a smile on students' faces. They enjoy the foods we prepare. I show them how I make rolls for lunch. Oh my gosh. Okay, James, I gotta tell you, all this week I've been bragging about Notice School District because I know that the last time I visited you guys, I think it was you who shared that you guys make your fresh bread, fresh rolls, and I have honestly been bragging about that. So, folks, we can go to Notice one of these days and try their fresh bread. Kama from Upriver and Kamei, getting to know the kids who were excited to come and get lunch. Oh, those are the best. I miss those days. Oh my gosh. Heather from Bonneville, one of our moms, made a video of our summer service. Oh, Heather, you got to share that one. Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. That would be so great. I would love to share that with the rest of our department as well. Kendra from Moscow, proudest moment when kids come up and hug you and say thank you. Challenge with staff. Oh my gosh, yes. We did picnic blankets and balls, jump ropes, and sidewalk chalk out. Kids love it. Oh, that's awesome. Lisa from American Falls, we served 12,763 meals last summer and 38,000, over 38,000 this summer. It was a huge increase. Oh, that's great. Yes, see James from Notice. Yes, we made bread from scratch. Yeah, I've been bragging about it all week this week in our department. Angie from Gooding, proudest moment, parent feedback, and how much our program helped them this summer. Oh, thank you all so much for that. Oh my gosh, I really appreciate when we go just outside the regulations, the program rules, and really just get down to the heart of the program, and just really see it from the kids and the family's perspective. And so that's really awesome to just read that, and have you guys share that. Thank you guys so much. Oh, I love it. All right, so then of course, with the highlights and the successes, oh, another comment here. We had a very small kitchen with one oven, and it is a big challenge to prepare meals for 100 children, but we were able to find some good recipes and easy meals that the kids really enjoyed. So we feel it as a success when we can get the children all fed. Oh my gosh, definitely. Totally agree. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. All right, as I mentioned, every summer comes with both successes and challenges. No, so I just want to flip the coin. So what would you say was the biggest challenge your program faced this summer? It could be something as, operational, like staffing or logistic. Kendra from Moscow already mentioned staffing, or something bigger like reaching kids in your community. Heather from Pocatello mentioned about just increasing more attendance and participation. So really anything that comes to mind is helpful. Did you experience, again, operational challenges? Like I said, oh, right, I already mentioned that with staffing or anything. Meal service or logistics, that can be as simple as food procurement or any delivery issues that you may have. What about participation outreach? Did you find challenging to reach as many kids and families this year as you have hoped? What outreach methods work best for you, and where did you struggle to get the word out? Let's see, couple comments in the chat box. Kama from Upriver, not enough room for cold food storage. Yep, definitely. Crystal from Twin Falls, storing so much food when we would receive our weekly food deliveries. Yeah. Oh my gosh, now that actually we're talking about operational, especially for our non-congregate sponsors here, yeah, I wonder if there needs to be a bigger discussion regarding logistics, right? Like food deliveries, how fast you're turning those inventories and how fast are you getting the deliveries? Yeah, Angie from Gooding, need more storage for sure. Anyone else want to share any challenges? Definitely welcome sharing those feedback, but maybe also share how you overcame some of these challenges.
We had a lot of trouble with walk-offs. We've always done congregational, and this summer it just seemed like there was one park that's across the street from the pool, but the pool is not part of our site, and so we had like 15 to 20 kids that would come and grab lunch and then try to take it to the pool. And it's, yeah, just getting the word out of letting them know, like, you need to stay here, at least finish your lunch here, and then you can go to the pool. That was our biggest challenge. And the parents never backed us up on it. They always tried to, like, no, we need to take our kids. So I think that was our biggest challenge this year. Was maybe our numbers would have been higher, but we had to discount so many meals, that because they didn't stay.
Marianne?
Yes.
I see that Holly's not on the call right now, so I wanted to share something. When I was out with her review that happened to her this summer, she's in Idaho City, 1 delivery per week. And when I was out for the first day, she had delivery times in the afternoon, and the milk, because it was delivered once a week, was about 2 days out of expiration. And she didn't have an option to get milk sooner unless she drove into Boise. So what she did, with feedback from the families and working with her vendor's schedule, she moved the delivery date to Wednesday evenings when the families were coming back from working in Boise. And then, the day that the milk was delivered, that's when she delivered the meals. So it extended that life span of the milk. So that was how she overcame the obstacle of having very limited delivery in the summer, and how to utilize that. And it actually helped, moving that day and time helped increase participation greatly, and having that communication and feedback from the families to know what would work for them. But that was one of her ways of overcoming the delivery obstacles.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Dominique. I think so. Going back to Heather, your comment about the walk-offs. I think I know Jennifer from Blackfoot. I think she might be on the call, but I don't know if audio is working for her. So if Jennifer, if you're on the call, Jennifer Jackaway from Blackfoot, if you're on the call, or maybe even Kim, if you're on the call still, I know about this particular incident, right? That you guys had this summer about the kids walking off, and what we had discussed, and then I think you guys also chatted with Dominique about that. Would you guys mind sharing that situation and what came out of it? If the audio's not working, maybe put it in the chat box.
So this is Kim. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, we can. Kim, thank you so much.
So I was at that school that happened, and so the kitchen manager and also the helper, they told me about it because it happened the day before. And so I went just watching and stuff. And so I watched, and I went over to them and I said, hey, we cannot take any of the food outside of this cafeteria. And I says, and I did not know how old they were. And so I says, if the lunches is between, child to 18 years old, and it's free. But if you are an adult, you are welcome to take it out of this cafeteria. And they're like, oh, okay. So they took it out of their backpack, which was crazy. They were with their family as well too. So the rest of the family left, and it was just the two girls, or, whatever. Sorry, I'm just rambling on.
No, you're totally good.
And so then I went and finished my observation. And then the kitchen manager, she's like, hey, are by the share table, and they are putting more stuff in their backpack. And I'm like, okay, go talk to him so I can go and get this stuff done as well. And so she could not get them because they hurried and left. And so after that happened, we called you, Marianne, right?
Yep.
I'm trying to remember. So we called Marianne, and she said that we just need to make sure that we document and everything, and have the kitchen manager keep on observing and everything. So after that, they did not go back. And I don't know if they went back to other schools or anything, but we just politely talked to them instead of, getting upset or whatever. So
yeah. No, thank you for sharing that, Kim. I definitely remember that phone call. That was actually the day I was visiting Darren's site in Marsh Valley, and having that side conversation. And I do want to touch on this a little bit, if you guys don't mind, because I know it happens obviously every year. It happens more often than we would like. And I'm always torn, right? Because it's always a double-edged sword. I always try not to think of the worst, that people are intentionally not following regulations and rules. And so, and this might just be my background with, you know, food access and hunger and poverty. But I always look at it, or I always try to look at it, that if kids or families are taking food home or taking more than what they should, there's a bigger issue happening at home, right? Um, and it's sad and it's unfortunate that that is extending to the kids, and them having to feel like they have to hoard or take meals maybe for later consumption. And so I always try to view it from that perspective. But we know that there's a small percentage of families and participants that they do just disregard our rules and regulations. Um, and so in those situations, what I advise Blackfoot School District is that if you guys are seeing that continually happen, um, you can deny them a meal and meal service. However, before we do that, I want our sponsors to do our due diligence in just making sure that we document those situations, right? Like if let's say they come on a Monday and you explain the rules, you explain the regulation, they still left. They come back on Tuesday, you explain the rules, they still left, and then they come back Wednesday, then that's when you can say to them, or even maybe the day before that, hey, if you continue to not follow the rules, we cannot serve you. But the piece of that is really that documentation piece. You can say on Monday, June 3rd, this happened and this was what the solution was, or this is what happened, this was the conversation. On Tuesday, June 4th, this happened again and this was the situation. Because then when you do get to that point where you have to deny service, that could obviously come out as a potential civil rights issue, right? They can say, oh, well, you're denying me of my meals. However, if you've done your due diligence in the documentation and conveying the rules and re-explaining it to them, you have documentation to show that you've done your due diligence. And so in some ways, that's obviously covering your operation and making sure that you guys have those records on file, in case you do have to go into that route. But that's if obviously there's that pattern, right? That behavior that's happening, which is very different across the state. It might be just a one-time thing, or if you do have a reoccurring issue with a family. I think the piece that, I would like to just share is just making sure that we just document stuff before we go to that extent. Because, gosh, to Heather, to your point, you mentioned you disallow 200 meals. That's 200 meals that's out of you guys' pocket, right? Like that's money, that's reimbursement that obviously needs to come out of the general funds, because that is something that obviously you can't claim for. And so again, I know that that's that fine balance on what we should do, what we need to do, all of those things. But please just keep in mind just that documentation piece if you are planning to go that route of denying the meal service.
Heather,
Oh.
or Heather, I'm sorry, Marianne.
Oh, go ahead, Ellen.
Hi, Marianne. Hey, I just wanted to just kind of share our experience a little bit with that kind of a situation. And in our cafeterias where we have our congregate meal service, it seems to me, and everybody can have different experiences for sure, but it seems like when we have the staff that's out there and monitoring and watching and really being vigilant about it, that we don't have as many issues. And I think for some kids, they, even though it's posted everywhere, they don't always pay attention to the rules, and we just have to remind them of the rules. And then they say, oh, okay. And they either sit down and finish their food or they put it in the sharing table. But like you said, I think a lot of it has to do with food insecurity too. I do wonder about that a lot. And it just kind of makes my heart break a little bit to think that kids are trying to take this food out just because maybe they're not going to have anything later.
and we're not able to, you know, allow that. So I know at one time, and I don't know if it's there anymore because we never used it in our district, but the traveling apple policy, is that still a thing or
Yep.
or no?
Yep,
Yeah,
we
I
can
don't
still use
know a
that one.
whole lot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's a
So
great point, Ellen. Yeah, that's a great point. You can definitely still use the traveling apple policy. That can be, you can take home either a grain or a fruit or a vegetable off-site. But there needs to be a procedure in place, on how that process would be. But yes, that is available for our sponsors, for our congregate sponsors to also allow.
right, and that would just require more monitoring, I'm
Yeah,
imagining.
yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, well, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Ellen. Yeah, if anyone else have any comments or feedback, please continue to share that. It looks like there was an answer on the chat box. The YMCA has the same problem. We were able to get one more freezer this year. That helps her a lot. Yep, storage. Definitely storage challenges for sure. All right, so then with that said, with our successes and the highlights, how do we see 2026 coming along? Now that we reviewed this past summer, I'd just like us to shift, at least for maybe the next couple minutes, the next 5 minutes, shift our focus to 2026. And I know I'm already asking a lot, right? You guys are barely just starting school year, but I'm already asking you guys to just think about, for a short period of time, think about summer 2026 and where we want our program to be a year from now, and hopefully start laying the groundwork for it, right? Like if nothing else, maybe just start thinking about maybe what you would like to see for next year. So with that, you know, what worked well in 2025? If anyone else would like to share any inputs at all, what worked well in 2025 that we should continue and expand in 2026? Were there any new strategies this year that you'd like to see become permanent parts of your program? If you could change one thing about how your program ran this year, what would you want to see done differently?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
I really liked being able to do mass production of vegetables, produce, and milk. So I didn't have to send out the small stuff. I hope that stays because then it allowed my staff members to just, for instance, we did 5 days, we did 5 different vegetables that week, and they didn't have to calculate different things each week. And it also saved on time. So the produce being in bulk and the milk being in bulk saved a lot.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you for that feedback, Angela. So I think that was more so like the bulk distribution under the non-congregate operation on being able to serve, and correct me if I'm wrong, Angela, but being able to serve like a whole watermelon instead of, you know, cut up watermelons, or a whole cantaloupe instead of, you know, slices of cantaloupes. Is that what you were referring to, Angela?
Yeah, because you look at melons, those are highly bacterial. So if you have to cut into it for a week and they don't store it correctly, then you worry. But when you give them a personal size melon or cantaloupe or honeydew, and then not cut into the peppers and not cut into the carrots, then they can use that at their benefit at their time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yep. And I'm glad you brought that up. And that's definitely one of the things that I have in the back of my pocket on just following up more in regard to really where that flexibility is. So following that, you know, my goal is to follow that up with our Western Region office and other state agencies on what they're doing, but then also the local district health on what their, you know, on what their guidance would be. And so there's definitely ways that there's definitely room to improve in our processes. And so that's one of the things that definitely I'm adding into my to-do list for next year.
I just have a question. When you're doing that bulk, Angela, do you have families that sign up, or how does that bulk distribution work?
This year, I sent out a Google form to all the kids' email addresses, and then it was a little difficult when people started hearing that we were having bulk. They would call me. I would give them a Google form. They would fill it up, and then I would send it to the manager because she didn't have access to my Google form. And so that was a little bit of a hectic thing. And I would always have to tell them, okay, you can't have it this week, you can have it next week because we had to sign you up this week. So but the families were really good about it. I think there is possibly a better way of doing it, you know, QR code or something like that that you can send out with your flyers and stuff. And then that way you can grab the amount for the family, the kids' names, and I also ask questions like, do you have an oven? Do you have a refrigerator? Can you store 7 days of breakfast and lunch? So, I mean, those are just the questions that I put in that Google form that they answered. And then I just shipped those informations to my manager, and then my manager took over and then set up a program that had the kids' names on it, how many they came and picked up. And then she was able to call them when they didn't show up and say, hey, are you coming today? The biggest concern we had was they wanted to keep all the food fresh and safe. So a lot of the families were getting upset that it would take a while to get the boxes, or they were mad because if they got there 15 minutes early, they wanted their box immediately, and we wouldn't start until, you know, our designated time.
Right.
So those were the bad things about it, but did I answer your question, Lisa?
Yes, thank you. How many families were you serving?
We were serving over 175 families, which equaled 3,000 kids. And mind you, this is a small kitchen. They normally only do 200 meals a day. So when they did 3,000 meals, they were, I don't think they want to do it next year because of how many they serve. But I mean, it was amazing, but like I said, I think that scared them away.
That's incredible, though. That's incredible.
And I do want to just insert, if you guys are curious about the whole 7-day distribution, 1-day open, or 1-day open, 7-day distribution, Angie from Gooding School District is one of our presenters for the non-congregate. And so I'm really excited for her to share that as well, to see, you know, if that is something that other sponsors may be interested in. And so definitely stay tuned for that. And then also, just a side note, I am compiling resources on registration forms. Angela brought up the QR code opportunity. I'm starting to research that to see what is maybe a feasible system that we can have in place to maybe assign QR codes. I don't know. It's very, very early on. I just briefly talked to one of our communication folks in our department, you know, if there's any app or system out there that's available. So definitely some great things in the works, hopefully for next year. All right, well, so keeping this in mind, the planning and the beyond, I know we have about 10 minutes before we start the non-congregate section. Keep these questions in mind, but really going into just our last slide for this first half of our meeting. If you guys have any other questions to other sponsors on want to utilize our time, or any questions for us at the state agency, I would love to open the floor in the next 5-10 minutes and see if anyone else has any burning questions that you guys would like to ask other sponsors, especially for any congregate sponsors, before we start the non-congregate section. I would love to open the floor to everyone.
Marianne.
Yeah, go ahead, Ellen.
I just have a question. So on the congregate side, well, not this year, but in previous years, we've kind of thought and talked a little bit about doing a site at a park in an area of town that really has no access to our other sites. It's an area that is pretty low income, typically speaking. It would fall under one of our elementaries that would qualify, I believe. But the thing is, I just don't know exactly what that would look like. How do you, we've never done like a park site as a congregate site. Yeah. So how do you have any idea how many, I mean, we could do a survey and kind of try to get some information from parents and whatever before we actually went that direction. But
Mhm.
how do you know how many meals to bring to that site? And how do you corral everybody there at the park when you're doing something like that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that question. And I'm trying not to answer because you guys know I love to talk. And you know that my sites before when I was a sponsor were all park locations. But I'm gonna open that up to the floor. And oh my gosh, Heather in Pocatello, I'm looking at you on just you guys' park operation. Because honestly, like my operation when I was a sponsor, I think that was really tailored under Pocatello's operation a long, long time ago. So Heather from Pocatello, Crystal, I know you guys do the parks too. Lisa, you do the parks. Anyone else you guys would like to share your input or any feedback to Ellen in Lewiston?
We'll share. We have always only done parks. And we take the blue Healthy Choice lines from the school, and that's what we use to put all of our food in. And then we have carts with like our main entree, and we just have kids come down both sides of the line. As far as planning for numbers, we just kind of we've been tracking it for 25 years. And so Krista, who's with me over here, has gotten really good at kind of predicting.
Yep.
But to start with, we would have our hot entree, and then we usually have backup items. It used to be that we made sandwiches right there in the park if we ran out of the entree. Now we just take backup Uncrustables like in a case, and then if we run out of the entree, we just pull out the Uncrustables, and then we just try to take plenty of things that we can haul back and forth. Chips, fresh fruits and veggies. So if there's leftovers, no problem, we can serve it the next day. Because we'd rather have too much than not enough of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we just track it over the years.
Okay, great. How do you manage if you have like a rainstorm during food service?
Usually we have an alternate site for meal service if we're alternate for poor weather. And then, however, so that I would always send like 20 lunches or something. I would send somebody with some lunches for those kids that are walking around bikes or something. But if they were in cars, we would send them to the alternate site so that, but we never wanted to leave anybody hanging, so we would send a vehicle. We're a lot smaller scale than like what Pocatello is, so we transport in, pickup trucks or, vans, and we use like the insulated coolers, but we've always done the parks as well. Trying to keep them in the park sometimes is always a challenge. I know for everybody it is, but I think it's the repetition continually telling them that they need to stay in the park, and we're watching them. And you do have the kids that are going to sneak away, and we threaten to not feed them or whatever, but we really haven't. We got to the point we've done it about 22 years, I think, in the parks, and then anyway, but I think the kids just kind of adjusted they grew up with it, so it's kind of like the kids I was feeding when I first started are now bringing their own children, and so they kind of know the rules or whatever now that we're gonna say they need to stay. But I was like kind of thinking the way on your lines when I did it. I looked at the different areas of our community and chose 3 parks that the kids didn't have to cross a busy street to. So kids living in that location, they wouldn't have to cross the street. And then the really low income area always, even though that site sometimes would drop, I always kept that one because it was too far for them to get from the other site. So I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, in the site that I'm thinking about, it's called North Lewiston, and there is a bridge. They have to get into the other part of town. They'd have to walk across this busy bridge, and then there's a huge intersection there too. They'd have to navigate that to get to any of our other sites, and so it's really just not feasible. So, in the event of inclement weather, that would be a challenge for that site because there would really be nowhere, for an alternate serving site if
Mhm.
the weather was bad that day. And so I don't know, what would that look like? Would you just show up, somebody would show up with a van and say, sorry, we're not serving today? Or you can go to this other site, but they really, if kids are on foot, they really have no way to get there. And I'm just envisioning sack lunches because that's what we did with rural non-congregate this year when we were doing that, our first year of rural non-congregate. But yeah, it's just a thought, and it's some things I'd have to kind of think about and work through, and of course visit with Dominique and Marianne and get some direction there too. But I appreciate all the input.
Yeah, and we got Crystal from Twin Falls too mentioned in the chat box that she said the kids love the parks. There are sometimes shelters at the parks, but our cooks have handed out their meals, um, handed out the meals from their cars. Numbers are usually lower with bad weather. And then Michaela from Bonneville, we had staggered service times on our 5 sites. If there were families that didn't pick up from a non-congregate sites, the manager would reach out to the other manager at the mobile park sites and see if she needed meals to cover. Our 2 mobile park sites had 30 minutes in between service. If she needed more meals, she could call back to the central kitchen and have someone run out for more meals. Heather from Pocatello, we've purchased a couple of awnings from Walmart if we are at a park that doesn't have a shelter available, and we've served out of the back of our delivery trucks before too. So yeah, definitely great points. Parks, oh my gosh, I definitely echo what Crystal said. Kids love the parks, you know, oftentimes kids may be hesitant to go inside a school building during the summer months, right? Because it's summer break. Who wants to go inside a school building? And so parks are a great alternative. I do just a couple of things. You guys know I like to put my input too, but just a couple of things to keep in mind too when it comes to inventory. I love what Heather from Pocatello mentioned about just the backup meals with Uncrustable and string cheese. That is also what I have done. When I operated the program, we didn't do hot meals, so we did individually package cold items, but I always had an 80-20 rule. So whatever number of meals I had, so let's say 100 meals, I always did 80% fresh and 20% shelf stable. And so the 80% fresh, all of my entrees were the same as far as like if it was a tuna with crackers or Uncrustable with string cheese, a sandwich, a turkey sandwich. But I always did an 80% fresh produce. And so it would be, fresh, apple slices, grapes, celeries, carrot sticks. I would do 80% of that of what I prepared for, and then 20% shelf stabled. And so I would always have kind of like that as a backup with either juice box with a fruit cup. Because then I'm not preparing all fresh produce to then hopefully not create any waste if I didn't have the same participation number. And so once you hit that 80%, then you can tap into that 20% shelf stable. And so I also did the same thing as Heather when we would use the Uncrustable and string cheese as the kind of like the backup meals, because that's always great, to serve that day. And then whatever you don't use, you can still serve that up depending how good you store them the next day or even 2 days after that. And so I always want I want you guys to think about just like those number of meals and creating as much less waste as you can. And so thinking, I've always liked that 80-20 rule. But definitely it's different, for sponsors who does the hot lunches, because you can do that as well. Maybe 80% is those hot lunches and then 20% a backup, dry products or shelf stable product. But the other thing too in corralling, Ellen, I've used cones. And I know Angela from Kasha did this, but cones and spreading them out in the park area where you want the kids to corral in, and maintain them in that area inside the cones. What also really help is if you have 2 staff serving meals, after you hand out all of the meals while the kids are consuming their meals, have 1 staff behind the food line or behind the table, and then 1 staff just continually walking around, because you maintain that presence, right? Of like, oh, someone is watching us and making sure that we stay in the park, just having that available things to see for the kids. So hopefully those were helpful. And I don't know, we are just a couple minutes past 10:30. But oh my gosh, I cannot express all you guys' participation in the past hour and a half. Thank you so much for your feedback, for your participation and discussion. I hope you guys have a really great rest of the school year. If you would love to stay for the non-congregate piece, please do so. If you want to hear just other things other sponsors have done that we have not yet discussed. But if you are ready to log off, I hope you have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Thank you all so much for what you guys do. All right, so then with that, oh my gosh, hold on a second. Let me get into my section here. Hold on just one sec. Okay, so then let's just go ahead. Oh, you're welcome, Heather. Thank you guys. I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. All right, so then let's go ahead and get started with the rural non-congregate operation. So for those that are new to non-congregate or have not been part of it, pretty straightforward. It is very similar operation as the COVID operation in regards to being able to consume the meals offsite. But the rural non-congregate meal service, its main objective and goal is to ensure that children in rural communities have access to nutritious meals. Thank you, James. By offering flexible distribution models, Summer Food addresses these geographic challenges and transportation barriers. Some of the service models includes grab and go, so curbside pickup, where families pick up meals at designated location, parent pickup, where children do not have to be present to receive their meals, multiple days. So this is what we were briefly talked about earlier, the 1 day open, 7-day distribution. It's meals, multiple days are meals served for several days are distributed at once, and then home deliveries if applicable. And so I know we're about 10 minutes early than this, but Angie, I hope you are ready for your presentation. I think you're on the
I guess I'm ready.
Yeah.
But you'll have to let me share my screen and hope
Yeah.
it will all work.
Yes,
Let's go.
definitely. Uh, let me make you the co-host. And you should be able to
Let's see if I
share
can.
your screen next.
Okay. Tell me if you can.
I don't know if I need, maybe I'll stop sharing my screen. I don't know if
You can see. Let me know when you can see it.
Perfect.
Oh my
Full screen.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. You can't see that part yet. Okay. You let me know when you can see it.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. All right.
All right. Take it away, Miss Angie.
Oh, my Lanta. So thank you so much for letting me share about my program. It was amazing. Last year was our first year of doing non-congregate, and it went really well. We had a lot of great feedback. So this year we really wanted to open it up even more. Last year we did a 5-day multi-day pickup. I think we had like 13 sites last year, which we didn't have quite as many this year, but I'm excited to share how non-congregate worked for us this year. Before I get too far, I want to just put out there that the way we had originally set up our operations, it kind of transitioned in midsummer because our weekly pickup service just kept growing and growing and growing. So our summer meal program is built on one simple idea. It's caring for kids and our families. And we know that summer is a stressful time for parents because grocery bills rise and kids are out of school all day. And then it can be a heavy burden for some families with increased cost of food to feed their children. So our role is to step in and ease that stress by providing the meals that are nutritious and balanced and convenient and family friendly. So some of our families, we're in a very rural area. We're a small town community, 3,800 people. And some of our families are, they have a unique challenge. They have a longer distance to travel to get into town to pick up meals. Maybe they only have one car and there's no way for them to get into town. And, you know, a lot of our families, especially out at our rural sites outside of town, they work on dairies or feedlots, and there's not their schedules don't always fit with the times that we're serving meals. So that's why for us, rural non-congregate is so important, and it gives our families the flexibility that they need, but it also comes with more responsibility of making sure we're maintaining the integrity of the program and being in compliance at all times. So let me share. So we began with a total of 10 sites this June. 6 of them were multi-day sites. 4 of them were out of town. We went north of town, east of town, south of town, west of town. And then we had 2 non-congregate meal pickup sites in town. We did a 7-day pickup, but one of the in-town sites, we offered only an evening pickup service from 5:30 to 6 on Tuesday nights. One thing I will change is I will not do Tuesday nights because baseball games are on Tuesday nights. So next year, Wednesday nights. We had 3 non-congregate daily sites. We operated at 2 parks and 1 library, and that was around the noon hour. And then we had summer school during the month of June. So we had a total of 10 sites. But in early July, we made the decision to close down our daily operation sites because more families were jumping over to the multi-day sites, the weekly pickup. And we didn't lose a ton of participation at our daily sites, but we saw each week those daily participation was going down and the weekly participation was rising. So we just made the decision, we shared it out to our families, and we didn't have one complaint when we made that transition. I think a lot of that has to do with our marketing and our relationships that we've built with the families in our community. So it was a really easy transition for us. So how do we make it work? Programs like this, they don't just come together. They take a lot of structure and planning. And we always start everything out with what our why is. And then we share that vision with our team and our families. We developed standard operating procedures and relied on rosters. We were working on rosters and looking at rosters every single day after service, cross-referencing, making sure that we didn't have duplications. We have, you know, like everybody, our production records and systems in place that'll keep things consistent. And then when we trained our permanent staff, we had student workers, and then we even trained our parents. So we used like social media to share out to parents how our program was going to work. The biggest thing for us is just getting everybody to understand how all the rules and all the roles that they play. So marketing was very big in reaching our families, and we use that to tell our story on social media. We posted things about our program on our website. We have an electronic reader board in town that we would have things on. And then we created a digital flip book, like an online magazine. And that included, you know, why summer feeding is important to us. There was an article in there. It had menus in there. It had cooking instructions, site information, how to sign up. And then we blasted that email out to every family in our school district. And then we also shared our flipbook on our social media page. So this combination ensured that our families not only knew about the program, but also could trust us and felt confident in participating. But we needed to remind ourselves to always be flexible. That's one of our greatest tools, I think, because you're always changing and adapting. And the way our program started and the way it ended, where, I mean, we had to be flexible because it just evolved so much. So for us, we used a Google Doc survey for our families. We sent it out to every family in our district before school got out, trying to get them to sign up. And then we took the information from those Google Docs and cross-referenced it with the summer school enrollment, because we want to make sure that our summer school kids are not going to those meal sites and getting double meals. I know that with the 7-day meal pickup, some of the summer school kids are at home on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and technically we probably could have offered food for those children in summer school for those 3 days out of the 7, but that was too much for our brains and a whole lot of extra logistics and layers that we had to go through. So we just made it a standing rule. If a child was in summer school, during the month of June, they could not participate in the 7-day meal pickup until July. Just next year we may look at it a little differently, but it was just a whole other thought. And just trying to maintain the integrity. We just were too nervous to just go there at that point. We were in our rosters every single day. We were sorting the rosters by family, and as families came to our sites, daily and the weekly sites, we printed a roster sheet every day, and then we would highlight those families off as they came to pick up. They had to have their parent name and the student name. So the parents would come through, give us their name, and then their students. And then we had the same cashier at our daily meal sites every single day. So I know there were a couple times she had mentioned that there was a family that tried to access a couple different daily sites, and she was like, no, 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 you were over here. And I think having the same cashier at the same site every single day, that helped us. And then our distribution for 7-day, it was staggered throughout the week. Last year we did 5-day meal pickup on Mondays. It was a horrible day to do it. So this year we did Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we would do 2 7-day sites every single day. And it would rotate, or, so on Tuesdays would be like curbside pickup and Main Street mobile home park. And one day it would be north and east, and one day it would be south and west. So families could pick up 7 days of breakfast and 7 days at lunch at once. And that flexibility, by reducing the number of trips families had to make, was something that they really responded to. With our meal pickups, we also included the cooking instructions. Every item was labeled, and families knew how to store the food and where to store it in their home, how long to keep it out. We also shared food. And then let me go to my next slide. So staffing, summer hours are optional for our child nutrition staff, but we do require kitchen managers work in the summer. So one of the ways that we supplement our workforce is by hiring high school workers and student workers. What's nice about them is they're very affordable. And the schedule, like our work schedule, is really good for them if they're playing sports or they have family vacations. We're very flexible. They can, work their summer hours around that. And then I think we had about a total of 14 workers, but on any given day, there would be 7 workers on site. By the time, you have these kids out for football camp and these kids on a family vacation. And then most children were all done by 2 in the afternoon. They'd come in at 8 o'clock in the morning, be done by 2. And then we tried to have at least 3 child nutrition staff packing meals. And then usually if I wasn't on site, Erica could be on site. So Erica and I split the administrative duties. This combination gave us the right balance to manage the meal prep, the distribution, and we didn't want to burn out our regular permanent workers, because our summer program, it was go, 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 and then you have about a week off and you're ready for school to start. So we didn't want to come back and be exhausted. Another cool thing is by having the high school students working with us and serving the younger kids in our community, that really built the sense of community in our program. And then, little kids see the big kids at school and be like, I know you, I saw you. So that's pretty cool. The numbers show the impact in our small community. In June, when we were operating 10 sites, we served nearly 25,000 meals. By July, with even fewer sites, we served over 44,000 meals using the grocery style non-congregate approach. And that just proved to us that it does work in our community. And the difference is closing daily sites. You know, the daily sites were only operating Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but on Thursdays they would get a Thursday, Friday meal, but they didn't include Saturday, Sunday. When we closed the daily sites, that opened that up for, you know, Saturday and Sunday meals. So that really contributed to the number of meals. And we had less sites we had to get to. So we're pretty proud of that. I don't have the percentage of what we served last year versus this year. I'll have to look it up and get it to you. But I can tell you, where's my paper? The first week, the very first week that we started mobile feeding, we had 94 families participating and 287 children. The very last week of our summer program, we had 273 families participating and 760 kids. So that's pretty exciting. There was something else I was going to say about that, but I can't remember. Oh, last year when we started our mobile feeding service, we also started it the very first day of summer school. This year we had summer school start 1 week. We did not do any mobile feeding during that first week. We went ahead and started our mobile feeding the week after so we could get things pre-packaged and ready to go, which worked out a lot better by doing that, and we'll continue to do that. So I was going to share with you some of the helpful tools that we did. So I don't know if I'll be able to click on this. I guess it's not going to let me. We did a Google form, just parents' name, all the relevant information. We asked if kids were, I don't think I can get into it. Sorry. Oh, never mind. Asking if their child was in summer school. If it was in summer school, they could no longer go any further into the document. So that's how we did that. And we were pulling that every day. And then we made a weekly milk order form because this was the first year that we did gallon milk. And then my mind doesn't think in gallon milk size. So I had to come up with a tool to help me figure out how to order gallon milk and how much I needed. So this was just a really quick thing. On the left-hand side was the number of kids. And then it's divided by delivery days. So you'll see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Each day has 2 sites. So you have a column for the number of kids and then the number of families at each site. That is the column with the pink arrow pointing down. That's the column that I would put information to every week. I never had to do anything else other than enter the number of families at this site. And then it auto calculates how many gallons of milk need to be at each site. Number of gallons, it says 80 about in the middle of the page. I need 80 gallons of milk for Main Street Mobile Park for summer feeding. And then it would also calculate how many gallons of milk I would need for the whole week down at the bottom. So 686. I know you can't read it very good, but I can share it with Marianne in a document that it's easier to see. So that made ordering milk much easier. And then I also created these packing lists for our staff. This is different from the production record. This is just for the packing team, which these are broke down into the servings per child. So the 7-day production, one for dry, you're putting 1 cereal, Omega O, 2 oatmeal packets, everything that's dry for that child for the week is listed out. And so by sections, and then it also has substitutions. So let's say we ran out of a breakfast wrap. Well, they could substitute with blueberry bread and string cheese or French toast. And so I tried to include some substitutions because that happens. And then in the middle right here, this is just the menu for the day. And then we did have a handful of special diets. So it would have their special diet stuff and then who the children were. So here's some picture. Here's our walk-in. This is why I say we need to have a bigger walk-in. This is a 7-day, that's a family of 5. If you can see right here. So there's a P and a 5, which P stands for produce, family of 5. There's one back there is produce, family of 4. Here's our cafeteria. It was awful. It was awful. It was awesome, but awful at the same time. I didn't think we were ever going to get it. One, I didn't think we were ever going to get the food used before school started. Two, I didn't think we were going to get the place clean. And then we purchased these reusable insulated bags for our cold and frozen food. And then we reached out to Gold Star and had some reusable grocery bags, the yellow ones, donated, but we didn't have enough come back. So then we found these big plastic ones that we used. We would ask the families, we would send them out to the families and then ask them to return them the next week when they pick up meals. And then we would wash them and sanitize them and get them ready. So we need a grant for just transportation materials. And then here are some other things I created for like lunch meat. If you're a family of 3, they need 3 ounces of lunch meat. And then like a loaf of bread, what they need there. Here's the milk requirements. So on this one, a family of 1, they need 0.875 gallons of milk, but we would just round it up and say, okay, we're going to give them a gallon of milk. We also have everything that we do is on a Google Doc or Google shared drive, so everybody has access to it. So they would see a list of all the items that were coming in for the week. Ignore the sterno, that's for catering. But anyway, they could see everything that was coming for a week. And then with produce, I could put in the amount of produce I was ordering for the week, how many servings were in it, how many half-cup servings were in it, and then the cost. And then I could break it down and say, okay, we have 10,141 servings of fruit and vegetable fresh coming this week. And then it's $4.72 for 14 of them, if that makes sense. And then we also would offer this multi-day packing list. So it would have the sites broke down, the number of gallons of milk needed for each site, how many families, how many kids. So it was just a quick reference for our team that was packing the meals. And then we use social media for everything. We really tried to be posting every single day we were in operation, sometimes on the weekends, but I really truly believe this helped drive our participation. I've never really posted as regular as I have this year, and sometimes it was 2 in the morning when I was posting, but at least things were getting posted and scheduled out. And then we started to bring in some local produce, which was very exciting, and so we were promoting the local produce that we were getting. And everything we did was also English, Spanish. So here's a few more things that we did. We sent this, stretch your grocery budget. We wanted to appeal to families that this is going to help their families. We also wanted to share with them some of the new healthy foods that were going to be in their kits. The stuff in the middle, that was what went on our electronic reader board and scrolled through during the summer. The Taste of Summer was our digital magazine that we used. And then some operational changes. So one of the biggest lessons that we learned was that fewer sites actually gave us more flexibility and it was more efficient. The grocery style model was a huge success, and families valued the convenience and the ability to just pick up meals once a week. So next year, some of the changes we are going to do is we're going to require weekly registration. What we found is we had families that completed the Google Doc in May, but then never ever actually even showed up to the site. So we're going to have our registration every single week. Families can go on and sign up. That'll also help the integrity plan tighten it up a little bit. And then we are going to use QR codes. So as families register, they will be provided a QR code, and then they will use that QR code when they come pick up their meals. We will scan it. It'll pull in what site they're at, how many kids, their children's names, everything they need to know. So that's something that we're doing different next year. And then we are only going to have one 7-day site in town, and it's going to at the school, and we're going to do different time slots. So kind of like grocery pickup. So we'll have an early morning pickup, probably 6:30 to 7 or 7 to 7:30. But then we have congregate during the month of June because we have summer school and we can't serve non-congregate at the same time. So we'll wait for summer school to get over. And then as soon as summer school's over, we'll do an afternoon pickup. It's probably going to be 12:45 to 1:15, and then we'll do an evening. So we'll have 3 pickup times, 1 day a week. Unless we decide to do it on a Friday. And then that way we wouldn't have to worry about non-congregate or congregate happening at the same time. But that's one thing that we're changing next year. And then I think I have some pictures of our curbside pickup. We have a lot of signage. I know our signage is kind of redneck. It's not fancy, but we dug that whiteboard out of the trash pile and used it. So we need things like this. These are the things we need. And then our hallways were filled with food. So we would have the families of 1, 2, 3, they would go one way and come on the side of the school. The families of 4, 5, 6, they would go in front of the school. So we had different spots at our school to kind of organize our families, because there would be cars lined up for blocks. And then we did end up moving our families of 3 on their own to the back of the school, like outside the kitchen. So we ended up with 3 different pickup locations depending on family size at our school. And then, can you hear that?
Oh, not really, Angie.
Okay, so that was it. I hope you could hear that. Could you hear that okay?
Oh, it was going in and out, Angie, but oh my gosh, if you send me the link or YouTube link, I'd be more than happy to share that.
Okay. So I think for us this year, our reputation is built on caring for kids in the families in our community. Just the feedback that we received from the families was like, it just warmed your heart. How many parents were like, this has helped us so much. Thank you so much for doing this. And we're really proud of the progress we made this year, but we're really excited for next year because it's going to be even better next year. So that's all I have. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Angie. Oh my gosh, that was a great presentation. Wow. Yeah, you're a rock star there. You guys are doing so awesome. I would love why don't we just open it up for maybe if you guys have any dying questions right now for Angie before we get into our next presenter, or we can certainly hold that off until afterwards and we can all discuss that. So I'll open it up in case anyone has a immediate question for Angie. If not, I'll go into our next presenter and we'll answer all the questions here in a little bit.
Only easy questions allowed.
All right. Well, with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over. Michaela, I'm gonna share my give you access here. So hold on just one sec. All right. So our next presenter is actually, I want to make a quick note. So Angie with Gooding, she has done So Angie, this is your second year doing the non-congregate. So we, as you guys all know, we opted in, or we did not opt in to do the rural non-congregate in 2023. So rural non-congregate was first time available for the state of Idaho in 2024. So Angie has done the program for the past 2 years. And our next presenter is Bonneville School District. And I really wanted to highlight this particular sponsor because they were one of the many that did the program for the first time this year as a rural non-congregate. They were a congregate meal service in 2024, and through a lot of conversations and troubleshooting and problem solving, they opted in to do the rural non-congregate. And so I really wanted to highlight that to really show our sponsors, all of our sponsors, that it is doable. It can be as big of an operation as you would like, that the way Gooding School District and Angie has done it, or it can be a simple daily non-congregate, simple operation that Bonneville, Michaela with Bonneville will go over with you guys. And so hopefully this will be helpful. So Michaela, let me find you here. And then oh wait, I just lost you. Hold on.
Can you guys see my screen?
Oh, not yet. Let me make you a co-host, Michaela. Okay, you should be able to, let me stop my screen. There you go. Perfect. We can see your screen.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay, so this was how Marianne said this is our first year doing Brill Now Congregate. We usually do just congregate. This is my third summer with Bonneville doing summer program, and we usually just had 2 sites. So we had like our main school site that did summer school, and then we had our park location that borders the main city park. And so last year when this came about, we kind of talked about it, Heather and I, about doing it, and we kind of decided let's wait and see what our friends are doing and get some ideas from them before we just go for it. And so when it came about again this year, we kind of talked about it again. And I reached out to Angie and Katie and just said, what did you guys do last year? Give me ideas. And of course, Angie just sent me all of this big long list, which I was super grateful for. Katie was super great too. She sent a bunch of stuff over too. We had a Zoom meeting with Katie to kind of get some ideas. And then Heather, like she said, from COVID, this was kind of basically just COVID, and she had kind of like COVID PTSD from it. And so she had that background of, okay, we're gonna pack, and we have a packing machine from COVID that we could use. And how do we do it? And we were so lucky this summer that we had a bunch of staff that wanted to work summer. And usually in the past, we kind of struggled and we're like begging and pleading people to work. But this summer, like we had to create jobs for them. And so we opened up this one, our Congress site, and then we opened up 2 other mobile sites. And then we had our school site and our park site. So we had 5 sites. We went from 2 to 5 sites for the summer. Okay, so we only did 1 site. So our district is pretty spread out. And we only had 2 sites that qualified under rural, and of course they were like right next to each other there. So we did this one that was out in Yukon, and our other one was like 3-4 miles down the road. And we kind of talked about like, what does that look like if we do both of them? Like we can go to one for a certain time and go up the road to another one. And so we just decided this is our first year, and let's just start with one and see how that goes. And those kids that were down the road at that other site, like it's very easy for them to just come over to where we were at. So when we first started talking about it, we sent out a parent survey, and this is what it was. And it was just to kind of gauge if we did this, if people would come. And so we just asked them, are they interested in this? And we kind of just like explored all the options. Like, would they want a grab and go, like a pickup, or like bulk distribution?
we did make sure we noted that it would be for Yukon and or Fairview, and this is kind of like what before we decided just to do the one site. So Fairview was that other site that we didn't do. So just to let them know that this was where it was going to be at. So if they're on the other side of the district and they're feeling this like, oh yeah, that's great, we're gonna like go to this, and then we come out like, oh no, it's a Yukon. So we're just very transparent, like this is our site. So if you are gonna participate and you want to drive out here, this is where it's gonna be. And make sure you specify that they don't have to live in the school boundaries, that they don't have to have children attending that school. They could come from the other side of the district if they wanted to. So we did in English and Spanish. Then we had this that they understand that by filling this out that this is where the bulk distribution is going to be or grab and go meals is going to be. And just let them know if you go to our other site, you will be required to stay on site to eat. This will be the only site that you can go and leave. So we just asked, would you be interested in grab and go option? If you're interested, what time would you be able to pick up? Oops, I don't want to edit. And then would you be interested in receiving multi-days of food? If you were interested in bulk boxes, how many days would you like to receive at one time? What days would you prefer to pick up? What concerns you may have with receiving these? And then just letting them know that we normally run just through the month of June, but there was interest in maybe going possibly through July. For the longest time, we've just always done June. And so we kind of talked about that idea of expanding it through July. And in the past, we just do June just because once July hits, the participation goes down. And so we don't do July, but we figured like let's have parents tell us would they be interested in this in July. And then we just left a little spot there if they wanted to provide any additional feedback about it. So that was that. And we sent that out to our superintendent was able to share it on our parent newsletter. It got shared on our social media. I sent it out to all the school secretaries, just, hey, can you send this out through Parent Square or School Status, whatever they're using, letting your kids know and your families know, like, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. So they shared it out. I printed out flyers for like Yukon and Fairview for like them. I actually live out in Yukon area, so I know like a lot of the parents and stuff like that. So just like telling them about it, getting it out on like the Yukon like social media pages and just sharing it everywhere we could think of. So what we did, so like I said, we got our Heather had ideas from COVID. So these are pictures that they did during COVID time. And so it was just bagging, like plastic bags, and you had your milk in there and your bulk distribution for breakfast and lunch. So they would come through, parents and families would come through and they grab their meal and have breakfast and lunch in it. And that was just a walk-in of how they would bag stuff. So, and then that was part of the packing machine of how they would package their fruits and vegetables. That's more of just the bags of the components of what is in it. So you got your white milk, your chocolate milk, looks like a muffin, that looks like meat or something, your veggies. You got juice over here, you got oranges. So that's what a meal would look like during COVID time. You have your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, your grapes, your muffin, your carrot, strawberries, your milk. So that would be their breakfast and their lunch for the day. Oh, I don't know why my picture's not working. So we did a central kitchen. So we had, we had 5 sites operating. And so our one school site was just on its own little island, like doing its own thing. And so we had 4 sites that were getting packaged out of one kitchen. And so, oh, it didn't pop up. So our staffing was, so we had, there was 4 people that worked for our park location. So they were kind of there at the central kitchen, but they had their own menu, but they were there to help. Our grab and go site had 4 people, but one of them was a 3.5 that went down to just a 1 hour because she lived out in Yukon and she didn't want to drive across the district to come help at the central kitchen. She just wanted to distribute. And so she would just meet them at the distribution site, and then that left some hours to make up. So one of our 3.5 hours went to a 5 hour. So we had our manager and then 2 5.5 hours that worked at the central kitchen just for the grab and go packaging. And then our other 2 mobile sites had 4 people. So she had a manager, a 5 hour, and then 2 3.5 hours. But they had their kind of menu. The menus were all kind of similar, but they had a few differences, but they were able to pack and distribute and all together in one place. And the kitchen that we were at was lucky that their cafeteria was enclosed. So in most elementary schools, it's like the cafeteria / gym. They have a separate gym off on the other side of school. So theirs was just the cafeteria that we could have enclosed. So like I said, we had 5 sites. We ran the 4 sites out of the one kitchen. We used the packing machine and had the same setup and concept of COVID. So this is what I didn't like super slow-mo because it was really fast. That's why it sounds super weird. But this is the enclosed sites. This is what they would use to like package. They have the tables out. They have like their boxes. We had some boxes we needed to use up from meals. And so they used their boxes first and then the sacks back here in the back. So everything would just be all laid out at the end of the day. And so it'd have like their napkin, their spork or utensil, whatever. If there's like condiment packets that need to go in it, that would go in at the end of the day. So when they would come in the morning, they could just put in all of their cold items and then package it up and then take it out.
Okay, we've produced 6,386 meals so far.
So that was just so that's the packing machine that they had for COVID. And that thing's kind of just sat in one of our middle schools the past couple years since COVID, not getting used. So we moved it over to this elementary school. And so on this back side, they would have their racks of stuff. You'd have the 2 people that would put them in these metal plates right here. And then the other 2 people here that would push it through. And then you'd have another person at the end that once the film would cover it, you would take a knife or whatever and cut it on the lines right there. And then you just pop those boxes out and they were sealed. So this is the other side of it. So as you can see, there's those metal plates that they're putting in and they're pushing it through that way. And then speed racks, they would just package everything. They would just do, so because we had the central kitchen, we had our Rodnall congregate, and then our other sites there, if the menu was the same, they would have just make like 700 bags of carrots for everybody. You just bag 700 bags of carrots, and then if you needed them, you just go grab and pull what you needed. So these are peaches that went through the packing machine. Same thing with the fruit. You would just make peaches and people would just go and grab what they needed. Oh, my picture, video, whatever didn't pop up right there. So this is just a time-lapse video of what it kind of looked like.
Yeah. You need that.
And yes, that is Heather there in the blue. So going to parent signups. So this was the flyer that I did for advertising. So this flyer went out everywhere. So we sent it out to our news stations, radio stations, the schools, all the secretaries got it. So all the schools got it. They sent it out. Our superintendent shared it out. Our PR person for the district, he shared it out. So it's just had what our program was, all of our site locations. So I specified on-site locations. And then down here, I did mention that's on site, you have to stay there. And just the little rule, parents may not eat off the child's tray, but they are welcome to purchase a meal. And then for our grab and go over here, it was separate. And then we had our QR code. So we had staggered time. So our distribution for our grab and go was 10:30 to 11:30. And we did it early enough in the day so we could give them, when they come to pick up, they got breakfast and lunch for the day. And then our other sites were kind of staggered too. I included all of this information like on about following us on social media, and we gained a whole bunch of new social media followers just because of this over the summer. So let's see. Oh, my flyer didn't come up. Sad. That is that one. So here it was. So these were posted. So this flyer went in with when they'd come to pick up, it went out with all the families. So just saying, by participating in grab and go meals, your family is not eligible for free meals at the following on-site locations. So just a reminder, hey, you're picking up meals here, you can't pick up at these sites, but if you go, you can definitely purchase a meal. And then these signs down here were at our other locations, just reminding them, hey, if you picked up meals this morning at Yukon, like you can't pick up here, but you can still purchase a meal. So this is our sign up sheet that we did, and it kind of just, I edited it throughout the weeks that we went. So we just did 4 weeks. So we just do 16 days because we run Monday through Thursdays. So I just edited this so it's like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And it would be open and they could scan the QR code that went out. They could go in and sign up, just telling them this is daily pickup is Monday through Thursday at this time. You can only pick up for your household, not for your friends, not for your neighbors. There's no distribution on Fridays. And when they'd come to pick up on Thursday, they would get Thursday's breakfast and lunch, and then we'd also give them Friday's breakfast and lunch. And a lot of families were so shocked. They were like, why are you giving us more bags? And it's like, well, this is also for Friday. So they were like surprised and happy at the same time when they'd come on Thursdays. And so because of we did that Thursdays, we saw a bigger increase from families that were coming on Thursdays, especially like we had families coming from like other sides of the districts, from the other side of Idaho Falls, they were coming to pick up. So there's some families that only picked up on Thursdays, and that was their only day because they could pick Thursday and Friday for that day. So I had the sign up sheets and they'd go out with distribution on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and it was just that flyer with the QR code saying, I didn't show it. I'll have to pull it up or I'll post it in the link. Marianne can share it. But it was just, hey, don't forget to sign up for next week. Signups close Wednesday night. And I'd say Wednesday night, but then I would close it like Thursday morning. So those scragglers. But then I still left it kind of like my contact information, like if they had anything. So I had a few people that like, oh, hey, we missed like registration. Is it still okay if we can sign up? So it was just a few families that did that. So I was easily able to add them to our list. But I just wanted to close it Thursday because then they could have time Thursday to prepare for Monday because we don't operate on Fridays. So if I'm giving them like 100 more meals on Thursday and they're coming in on Monday ready to go and they're like, oh, well, we don't have this. So we closed it off so they knew like what to expect, how many. Then this is our just integrity piece of it, just again saying that if you're signing up for grab and goes, you're not eligible to pick up these other locations. That you understand that's at Yukon and you're gonna drive out to Yukon and pick up meals. What is your name, contact information? So for next year, I learned that I'm gonna make this separate because I'd get a lot of people that just put in their name and then we wouldn't have a good contact phone number for them. So if they didn't show up, there was no way for me to get in contact with them besides email, and that wasn't very helpful. If they weren't going to be the main person picking up, who was going to be the main primary pickup person? Or if they wanted to name another, like an alternative, they could do that. Just noted that parents and guardians were only able to pick up. The older siblings couldn't pick up their household, but we left it that it was if a child comes without their parents, like if they walk over, that they can pick up for themselves. So they could self pick up, or if their parents were there, they could pick up for their whole family. But if a whole family signs up and only like 1 or 2 of the kids walked over and like, oh, I'm here, we could only give them those 2 because they were just an older sibling. They weren't like authorized to pick up for their whole household. And then just information on their children, so their first and last name, and if the school, if they were in our district, and then if they had a student ID number, if they were in our district. And then they could pick up what like say what days they wanted to pick up. So they would just click what days they were there. We also said if they sign up and they don't pick up, they were not eligible to pick up for next week, just so we didn't get like repeated people coming. We never really like implemented this rule because we didn't really have like there was some that would come like that wouldn't pick up, and I would get the list of people that wouldn't pick up from the manager and I would reach out to them. And mostly it was just, oh, I forgot for the day, or I had something come up or something. And or there was some that would actually reach out to me beforehand and be like, hey, sorry, we're not able to pick up. And they were very like, does this mean that we can't pick up for next week if we don't come today? And I was like, well, no, you're letting me know. So thank you for letting me know. But no, like we won't like hold that against you for next week. You're able to sign up. And then we left it if you have any questions or concerns. And then again, just marketing our social media because that's where we're posting everything. So that was the main one. And then I did a different QR for returning families. So then it's kind of the same thing, but it's a little bit shorter. So it's just your name, a phone number, again, the integrity piece. You're not going to go to other places, that you understand a parent guardian must pick up. And then do they need to update any information from their previous registration? So if they've already registered, I already have all of their information on file, like their kids or anything. But if they have other changes, like if they need to change who's picking up for them, or if they need to add children or something, they could do that. And then they could also pick their days that they were coming. So that way they don't have to go, if they have like 5 children, they don't have to go in and put all 5 kids' names on there again. Just easier. And then so from that, I could pull the results and make a weekly pickup. So so they have their names, their information, who is picking up, and then the children's names, what days they were picking up, and how many children were in the household. So then when this would get printed out and the manager would have it, she'd take the roster with her. So then they would come up, they would drive through, and they would say their last name. And then she would just verify, okay, you have 5 children. And then she would just mark them off. And if there's any notes, so like this one, I made notes too for her, so she would know they were only scheduled to pick up Monday and Thursday. So if they come on a Tuesday trying to pick up, like if we have extra meals, like yes, we'll give them to you, but you did not sign up for Tuesdays. So just to be fair to the families that did pick up, we can't give you the meals right now, but if there's extras like at the end, if you want to hang out, then we can give you some of those extras. And then once they sign up, I sent everybody a confirmation email. So that was very time consuming. So I don't know what that looks like for next year. But it was just saying, I would verify their name, verify the person that they listed to pick up. If they had an alternate pickup, just verifying the kids in their household and what days they registered to pick up. Just reminding where it's at, dates and times. Just another integrity piece, just reminding them you're not eligible for these other sites because you're doing grab and go. Just reminding them they can't pick up for friends or other family members. Letting them know too, the children can pick up without their parents. Like if your kids they're old enough to stay at home by themselves and you're at work, then they're able to walk over and pick up. But we do highly encourage the children to be there on site so we can see that these meals are actually going to those kids. Just reminding them if they sign up and they don't pick up meals, then they won't be allowed for next week. And then signups will be required each week, and then the QR code will be sent home each week with them. I have been horrible with pictures this summer, and so that was their last day of operation. So that was the manager. So when she got, it would be the manager and one other person. And then this is Jerry, our warehouse manager. And so all the meals would get packed up in here in our reefer truck, and they would just drive it out and set up there. This little table right there. She has the clipboard, and the cars would just drive through. And this is kind of like what it looks like in front. You can't really see it, but this is the main road, and they loop through the front here, and this is the front of the school. So we just set up right in front, and then you go through the parent pickup, so they just line up right there. she'd go like down the line and just check them off and then tell them, this car needs 3 meals, this car needs 2 meals, and they would get the meals out of here and put them in their car. So the menu, so we kept it kind of simple-ish. And like we thought more picnic style. So breakfast was, we did a 2-week kind of difference, but lunch, it was the same all 4 weeks. And so we had our pancakes, our fruit, and then they got white milk during breakfast time and chocolate milk during lunch. That should be white milk. But these were posted all the time on our social media. So parents were aware. And then I also printed out signs that they were hung up there at the distribution site as well. They could like put them on the table, or like they had A-frame signs there that they could, so the parents knew what to like expect for the upcoming week. These were sent out with all of our meals. So when first we started, we put one in every single bag for that first week, and I killed a lot of trees. And so we decided the second week, okay, let's just do one per family, so one per car. So when they'd come up, they would get this packet along with the other reminder, the site reminder saying, hey, if you're picking up here, you can't go to the other site. And so this is just if there's cooking instructions, how to store it. I did the allergens on there because that's my job. I do allergies. So I'm always thinking about allergies. And so, oops, go back. And then just a reminder, keep your meals safe and fresh. And then some challenges and successes that we had. So the first week was a hot mess for sure. Like we left on Thursday and we didn't think any of the staff was going to come back. It was very questionable if the manager is coming back or not. So it was a lot of troubleshooting in that first week. But that second week, like Monday, they came back and they were like, let's go. Like, we got this, let's do this. And they had like a different perspective on it. And it's just a game changer. And it was so good. And our challenge was parents not picking up, and so I didn't have contact information like to call them. The manager did, I think it was about like 20 minutes before serving time, she would start calling people on her list and be like, hey, we're here, like, are you coming, like, are you on your way, just letting them know, like, that reminder. Or if they're like, oh yeah, we're right down the road. She couldn't really get through a whole lot of that just because like there's still cars coming up and she's trying to call. And so I think most times she would only call maybe like 5 or 6 families. So definitely like a different system for that. Parents arriving after serving time, like they would literally like pull up like a minute or two after. And the manager we had, she's very like, I'm gonna feed these children no matter what. So she would just give them the meals. And so we had a lot of like disallowed meals that we couldn't like, she's like, they're here, like I'm just gonna give them to them, like I have the meals. So paper workers, we ran into that, I think, with like just there was the 3 people there, and we had the manager doing the roster, and she was checking off. But then she's going down the line, and then the other 2 that were helping were kind of like jumping in there too. And so the manager's like 3 or 4 cars down, yelling at them. Well, they can't really hear what she's saying. And then when they get up, they'll ask the car, "Oh, how many do you have?" And they'll say like, "Oh, 2 or 3." And so I found an issue with that just because like, okay, you're checking in for like 2 down here, but then when you get to the front and they're asking you, you can change your mind and be like, oh, I need 5 meals. And they're like, okay, and they'll just give you 5 meals. So there's a lot of paperwork errors that we had to go back through because our numbers that we had set were not matching with how many meals we provided. So in our central kitchen, we had 3 managers. So we had a manager for our rolls, our grab and go, mobile site, and then our park location. So that was just like too many cooks in the kitchen. Like everybody was stepping on everybody's toes. Nobody like, it was like a hot mess. Next year we'll go down to like 1 manager being in charge of like the whole central kitchen and like delegating roles that way. We had a few walk-ups being added to the list, and the manager would just write down their names, but she would just write down like their last name and then like how many kids were coming. And so like Walker 5. Okay, well, what are the kids' names? Like, what are they going to come every day? And then when they sign up, we had that thing that says by signing up, like I'm not going to go to other sites. So they weren't agreeing to our integrity plan that we had set up by just walking up. So next year we're definitely going to change something like that. Like if they're going to walk up, maybe give them the QR code or have the QR code posted out there so they can sign up too, so they can agree to that. So our successes, it was more accessible to children and families, like out in our rural area, like it gets forgotten about because it's kind of out there. It's not like too far from town, but it's still out there. And if we're gonna come into town, like it takes about where our central kitchen was, where our park location, it's about 20 minutes from where we were serving at. So just having that more accessible, and the school is right around like a bunch of like neighborhood, like it's right in the neighborhood, and it's very like a lot of kids walk there, a lot of kids live there. So just reaching those families, they were super grateful to have that opportunity out there because they are so far out there and they do get forgotten about. So we had amazing teamwork. Like I said, that first week was a hot mess, but then they came in and they were like, okay, let's do this. Like, let's get this done. And our distribution was at 10:30. And so they worked together and it's so great. And they had everything all packed up usually by like 9 o'clock for the day and like ready to go. And so from our numbers, we did 8,790 rural non-congregate meals served in June, and we just did 16 days. So Monday to Thursdays for that, and that is breakfast and lunch combined. And so our total meals with all of our sites was 60 just in June. And then in the bottom here, I just have some comparisons from summer 23 and summer 24. So we definitely have been increasing the last few years. And with the rural non-congregate, we just like went overboard. And then I did what our parents are saying. So these were just some of the stuff that I got feedback in those parent surveys. So I left the option like anything else you want to tell us or anything else, like or any other questions. This was where they were putting the feedback of how great we're doing and how this is such an amazing program. And this bottom one down here, it says, we have loved the Yukon pickup bags for lunch this summer. They have their son's name. His favorite day is salad day. So that one is a parent at, her son does go to Yukon school, and like I know her because my kids go to school there too. And so like she's a parent, and so she texted me about it just randomly, just to let me know that how great this was and that she loved it. Questions, and then I have my information there if you have questions in the future, or Heather's. Contact Heather.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Michaela. Yes, yes, echo what Angie said. Way to go, Bonville. Oh my gosh, that was great. And that was so awesome just to see like all the feedback. I love that you guys incorporated all of your tools and resources too. I do want to note to everyone that I will be creating its own green tile in our training portal for all rural non-congregate resources. And so I believe Angie already shared her sign up sheet, but oh my gosh, I will work with Michaela and Heather to get you guys's. I'll work with other sponsors too in getting their surveys, sheets that they've used, cheat sheets for calculations. There were a couple of sponsors I visited this summer that had some really great cheat sheets too. So I'll compile that all together and be sure to share that so that you guys can start tapping into those resources. And so yeah, oh my gosh, that was really awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see. I will go ahead and open it to any questions in case there are any dire ones that you guys want to ask. And then let me just open. Hold on, I just lost all my things. Ah, hold on. Oh, there it is. Sorry, let me just pull this really quick. Oh my goodness. Okay, let me get back to my tracking here. So do we have any questions for Michaela or Angie from anyone on the phone or anyone on the call right now? If not, definitely put that in the chat box or shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to share that with everyone, or with Michaela and Angie. And like I said, I'll start compiling all of the resources and stuff. Awesome. Oh, some really great comments in the chat box. Yeah, I wanted to mention, while Angie and Michaela were doing their presentation, I was looking at, or I was jotting down some other things that I would love to look into. So Michaela, I'm so glad that you mentioned the whole, they check in with a number of kids, and then when they pick up the boxes, they may tell a different number of kids in their household. So that could, create that discrepancy. And so I totally just wrote down ticket assignment, maybe assigning like different colors for the tickets. You hand them to that while they check in for registration, and then when they drive down for the pickup, you can hand them the ticket of how many household that may be. And then maybe assigning different colors so you can determine what number, what color for that day's pickup is, so that it can keep that integrity piece. They don't create their own pickup ticket. And then also I wrote down an idea, maybe doing some kind of automated call or text for reminders, for pickup reminders. I know that you guys in the school district, you guys do the massive texting through the district's office. I wonder if that is something that they can tap into, and do a text reminder that, hey, don't forget to pick up your box today at 10:30 or something like that. So really great ideas on just some of these. And I'll be sure to pack that into the list of tools and resources. There is a question in the chat box, Lisa from American Falls. I'm interested in your packing machine. Can you tell me a little bit more about it and where you purchased it? So Heather and Michaela?
So we got it from Preferred Packaging. It was a while. It was actually, so there's lots of options. There's one that is just a single, so you have the plate, you pull it down, and it just does one plate at a time. And then there's the 25-foot, you can send through, hundreds of meals. But this one, it seems really little and it is powerful. As long as you can keep pushing things through. Sorry. Like we were amazed, like those speed racks that were there, they packaged them in no time. And it just went really quick. The film lasts forever. The rolls of film last a long time. It's zero maintenance. The little cups are a little spendy, but you buy the plates, you get the machine, and it literally, we're actually working on packaging some things right now just for our regular program to help some of our little schools with small staffing. But I can send the information. It's been a minute, but I'll find it. But it was from Preferred Packaging. I think Oliver Packaging. I think they have something similar too. But it was less than $5,000 or just at 5,000. And that was during COVID. So we have not done the cost comparison because we had the fruit, we had the cans, and we had the staff. So we just wanted, usually our goal in summer is use what we've got on hand rather than purchasing a whole lot of new stuff. So there were some cups that we used, but for the most part, we packaged a lot.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Heather. And yeah, if you wouldn't mind, if you can gather any type of information, I can even put that as a folder under the tools and resources for I don't know, equipment purchases or something like that. So awesome. All right. So just a quick recap. As I mentioned earlier, we had or the number of sponsors that we had increased, but we did have a total of 30 sponsors who opted in for the rural non-congregate operation for summer 2025. 11 of those were either a brand new sponsor who's doing the non-congregate for the first time, or they were a congregate sponsor last year and then they transitioned to non-congregate this year. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we had a total of 97 sponsors that operated rural non-congregate sites. So overall, in total, this was the meals served that we have under the rural non-congregate. Like I mentioned, we are still gathering all of the claims that sponsors have not submitted for July and August, or we're still waiting for the claim submission. And so definitely more, or these numbers will definitely go up, but really great numbers to look at for non-congregate and how well we did this year. So I know that Angie and Michaela have already shared highlights and successes within their operation. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Heather. But I would really love to hear, I know, Lisa from American Falls, she was also a sponsor that have operated congregate meal service for many, many, many years. And this year was her first time doing the non-congregate. Gosh, Crystal, I know you're on the phone. I'm not sure if you're still on the phone, but Crystal from Twin Falls has also been an amazing rock star in doing their operation, non-congregate operation. But is there anyone else, or maybe Angie or Michaela, in case anything you guys may have missed? Was there any other highlights or successes you guys wanted to share, or you're most proud of this year? Gosh, what would you consider, one of the biggest success you have that your team or site achieved this year? Was there any moment that this summer when you felt that, gosh, this is really working well?
I'm
I'd
just
love
glad we lived through it.
What was that, Angie?
I'm just glad we lived through it and survived. It was awesome. I don't know. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger every week. So I think that's our biggest success. Just super proud and super happy that we were able to reach so many kids.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that, Angie. Anything else you guys would love to share, please, especially for those whose maybe camera or audio is not working, definitely share that in the chat box so I'm able to capture that. I know Wendell, you guys, this is your first year doing non-congregate. Kendra from Moscow, you guys have our second year doing the non-congregate as well. And I know, Kendra, you've been open to the idea of doing mobile sites. So definitely some of those things, if you guys have any questions, or just kind of wanting to pick other sponsors' brain in the call today.
This is Kendra from Moscow. I really do mobile sites, but it's hard because our area is a lot of U of I generated. So like I know where the kids that struggle are, but like they don't qualify on a map, and that's frustrating. Mm-hmm. But that's the only thing I wish we could figure out how to do,
Right. And Kendra, that's really great that you brought that up. Maybe we can revisit that, because I know not this year, but last year, I know we had some discussions about that. And I'm wondering if some of those sites maybe demographic to change a little bit. But I can definitely.
I looked this last year and nothing's changed. Like, for instance, we call like a couple spots the pits because like that's where the kids that we have to go pick up, because their parents don't take them to school, and like principals go out there to help fill out paperwork. And that is literally right in smack dab in the middle of like not approved. And it's like when you drive out there, like there's no running water in some of the trailers. And so it's like, they definitely they do qualify, but on a map, they don't, because they're right smack dab at the U of I, all these people that live around there that have lots of money. Mm-hmm. And also on like an apartment side, it doesn't qualify because there's like students that live there. And I don't know actually how that works, but like the kids that go to our buildings their families aren't making money. Yeah. So that's the only thing that like I wish we could tackle, like, and figure out how we can make that work.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know that the new site eligibility mapping will come out. They usually let us know the first week of October that it's out. And so I will definitely make a mental note of checking that immediately as soon as the new mapper comes out for site eligibility, and see if maybe any of those changes. But yeah, let me see what else we can figure out, Kendra. I know, like I said, we tried to get creative a couple of years ago, but maybe maybe we can revisit that again when the new mapping comes out and see what
Okay.
that data tells us.
Yeah, and I think also staffing is a big issue for us. Nobody wants to work in the summer. Like
Yeah.
I've had to beg some of my cooks to even like help me. I worked every day at summer feeding except for like when we went to the conference.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, obviously I think everyone has that issue.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix that by any means.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much, I mean, we had a great year. I love doing summer feeding. It's kind of my favorite program. Yeah, so I don't know. We love it here in Moscow.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Kendra. I just see some comment in the chat box in here. Lisa from American Falls. I was so hesitant to try the non-congregate, but I'm so glad that I did. We had a great participation and our reimbursement went up by close to 100,000. It was a huge success for our small district. Oh, that's so awesome to hear. Lisa, thank you so much. I'm so glad you jumped into the pool and did the operation this year. Crystal from Twin Falls said, I can't believe how many meals we fed. Our staff is amazing and just made it happen. They enjoy doing something different during the summer and being outside. They learned some things during the summer and summer to use during the school year too. That's awesome. Ellen from Lewiston. Lewiston has the same situation as Moscow. Rural non-congregate doesn't work for much of our area, even though they don't have a good access to our sites. Eligibility mapping does need to be considered. Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, they usually let us know the first week of October when the new mapping comes out. And so I'll be sure to send that out so that we can, begin troubleshooting some of the eligibility concerns that we've had, that you guys have, and see if maybe some of that change, for next summer.
Just because I'm curious now,
Yeah.
like how does one like get on the map as not being eligible? Because like I said, the one apartment complex, like there is so many, well, I think it's all like one of our school students that live there and they are all approved for either SNAP or Medicaid.
Mhm.
Like I don't think there's one child in that apartment building that doesn't DC,
Yeah.
but yet right smack dab in the green of this map. So is it like based on the houses around, like all the people that, like there's a huge subdivision with big old houses. Like, is it based on like the people that live around or the people that own the rental? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand how some spots are green, but then you drive around those neighborhoods and you're like, how is this not approved?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, there's definitely more details that I'm sure I know of that goes into that mapping for site eligibility, but I know that they do it based on each block or zoning. So combining all of those data. And so, yeah, definitely, I agree with you, Kendra, that can definitely skew some of those pockets within those blocks that are experiencing those challenges, but they're not obviously not a higher income family or a household, and so they get those data gets really skewed. There is so and I'm just speaking from my experience when I was a sponsor. So there is a possibility to qualify a site if it's not in an area eligible location. How I had done it was that it was an apartment complex and it was in again, a neighborhood or a block that didn't qualify, but the apartment complex that I was trying to get approved, I believe it was either a Section 8 or a Section 42 housing. So it was, low income. It was a subsidized apartment complex. And how I worked that out at that time with a state agency was I had to work with a property manager to gather the data of how many household they were in that neighborhood, obviously the number of kids, estimated number of kids, and then some kind of confirmation from the apartment complex that they were considered a low income housing complex, so a subsidized housing complex. And so I gathered that data and I remember giving that to the state agency, and then they had to make that official request to the Western Region office. And so that might be a possibility if it's an apartment complex or at least a housing area that the site you're considering, Kendra,
So
but we'll definitely have to gather some more information.
yeah, we talked about that. The only thing is, I wanted it to be a mobile site because we have multiple Section 8 apartment complexes. But the biggest one was that trailer park. And when I looked into it, there's no one that like owns it because it's basically they own the property, but the families own the trailers, but they're very low income trailers, like, you know, they Robertson Park, I don't know if you know that one. But so no one manages it, but it won't qualify because there's no one I could go talk to about it, you know?
Yeah.
But if you drove in it and you look at our DC list, it's like full of students that need it.
Yeah. You know, we have our scheduled monthly call with Western Region next Thursday. I will bring this question up, Kendra, to other state agencies and see how they've tackled that.
Okay.
And see if I can get some pointers.
Perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, just to be mindful of the time, I'll go ahead and go through the next couple of slides. Really kind of just compiling the next couple of slides. I also have just a Q&A too for the next slide. But yeah, if I would love to just open that up for any challenges or any other questions that you guys may have for other sponsors in the call. And then really just again, looking ahead for 2026, you know, based on what we've learned so far, you know, what's the one thing that maybe a change that would make your job easier next summer? Any support or resources from us that would help address these challenges? Which of this year's lessons should we carry forward as best practices? If you could design one improvement for rural meal service, what would it be? And what new ideas would you like to test or pilot in 2026? So we'd love to just open in the next few minutes, just different questions or maybe other feedbacks that you guys may have as we close out this brief meeting, especially for any sponsors who are considering, you know, trying out rural non-congregate for next summer, or maybe others who would like to expand it. Oh, I wanted to share these photos. Oh, there you go. Just some photos that I've gathered throughout the summer. Definitely will share this in the resources. I'm not seeing any questions on the chat box, but just my last slide. Oh my gosh, just a huge thank you for everyone for your input. Today's discussion I'll be able to summarize and use this guide to provide technical assistance and programming planning for next year. So your continued feedback is welcome even after this meeting. Before we get off the phone, on behalf of our team, I just want to extend a sincere and heartfelt thank you to all of you guys. You have dedication and hard work and your hard work during the summer. I just really appreciate all of your work. Because of your commitment, thousands of children have in rural communities had continued access to healthy meals. So something that makes an immeasurable difference in their lives. I personally know it's not easy. We've been in your shoes. It takes long hours, creative problem solving, and deep commitment to service. So your efforts, partnerships, and perseverance ensure that children who might otherwise go without had the nutrition they need to learn, grow, and thrive. So please know the impact of your work goes far beyond the numbers. It strengthens families, communities, and the future of every children served. We are deeply grateful for your partnership, your resilience, and your unwavering commitment to serving children. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for all of that you do. I really appreciate you guys' time. I know for some of you guys, you've been here for the past few hours. So thank you so much for your time. If you think of anything else, shoot us an email. Myself or Dominique will compile it together. I promise I won't bother you guys for the next couple of months as we plan for next year, but please reach out if you guys have any questions. And I cannot wait to work with you guys again next summer. Thank you for all you do.